Hello and welcome to 442's World Cup in motion. Throughout the tournament, myself and various members of the 442 team are going to be going live as much as possible on our Twitter, Facebook and YouTube channels, talking through the action, the goals, the drama and all the weird and wonderful talking points emerging from Qatar. We'll also, hopefully, be joined by some special guests along the way too. We're now on day 5 of the tournament. Enter Cristiano Ronaldo when Portugal play Ghana at 4 p.m. UK time. Enter tournament favourites, Brazil, who face Serbia in the final game of the day. There's so much to discuss after the events of yesterday, and joining me this lunchtime is our staff writer, Mark, online editor, Connor, and once again, live from Qatar, senior staff writer, Chris Flanagan. Chris, we've got to start with you. We left you yesterday lunchtime as you were hot-footing your way over to Germany v Japan. Did you enjoy it?
Well, I did, yeah. It certainly didn't turn out the way I expected. I think I went for 2-1 Germany yesterday, and obviously it looked like they were in complete control of the game for a long time. I got the sense that Japan was sort of trying to keep the score down, and then they were going to go for it in the last 20 minutes. That's exactly what they did. I mean, it was incredible how that game turned around. And I think Germany were pretty stunned by it, and there's a lot of Japanese in the stadium, and they were absolutely loving it. It was to have been in the ground now for 2 amazing shocks with the Argentina defeat as well, and that it's 2 incredible results that in both games the favourites seemed in complete control, and it's all turned around so quickly.
Great atmosphere again inside the stadium. Hard to work out which set of fans was making the most noise. How did you see it? Who won the battle of the supporters?
Japanese, definitely. Yeah. I think, again, it's quite noticeable that a lot of the European teams here aren't that well supported, say, whether it's the fact that they're put off by the negative PR in the tournament and things like that, and obviously the prices affect everyone. But yeah, the Japanese were there in numbers, and yeah, they were pretty much the loudest even when they were losing 1-0, and they were certainly the loudest when they were winning after that, and they made the most of it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Connor, is that Germany out of the World Cup?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously Japan have got Costa Rica on Sunday morning. You'd expect the way they played and the way that Costa Rica played yesterday that Japan will get a result out of that, probably a win. And that would leave Germany needing to beat Spain on Sunday night. I think Germany will be out of the World Cup by Sunday evening.
Mad, isn't it? And where do you think, Mark, they lost that game? They looked in control, but they just couldn't kill Japan off, could they?
Yeah, I mean... the substitutes really for both sides, I think, completely killed the game. I mean, Chris, this was something I wanted to ask you what the atmosphere was like, because obviously Japan left out Kaoru Mitoma and Tomiyasu on the bench. Asano as well, he came on, he got the winning goal. But equally, how much of a deflation was there, or did there feel like there was when Germany took off the 2 midfielders?
Well, I mean, I think, like you say, I agree that substitutions definitely turned the game. Japan's substitutes were brilliant. Germany's, I mean, when they bring it on, I must admit, Füllkrug, I didn't know an awful lot about when he came on. I was thinking, blimey, are Germany really that short of strikers? I mean, maybe he could well be, pretty good in the Bundesliga, but he's not one that's got a lot of European experience and world experience. So that was a bit of a surprise.
Ed was bigging him up the other day, saying he could be the next Miroslav Klose. So.
Ed, our resident Bundesliga expert, described him as the Ricky Lambert of the Bundesliga.
Well, exactly. That I wonder whether he's a bit like that. And unfortunately, I don't think you'd really want to put Ricky Lambert on in a World Cup game that you have to save yourself from going out. In the end, the best chance of scoring was sticking Manuel Neuer up in the end. So.
It's good. It's good fun. Neuer, I mean, there's going up for corners, but Neuer goes up for corners and then stays up for attacking free kicks and just phases of play in that area of the pitch when they're chasing the game.
I was thinking, if that happened again like yesterday and Japan ran up the other end and scored like exactly like South Korea did last 4 years ago, that would have looked so bad on him. But yeah, like you say, they're in big trouble now, aren't they? Because I mean, they can beat Spain, but it's a big ask. And if they don't, yeah, it's hard to see them getting through.
We should talk a bit more about Japan as well, because I think the focus should shift to them a bit, because they didn't panic, did they? Do you think the fact that so many Japanese players playing for German clubs was a factor yesterday, Chris?
Potentially so, yeah. Obviously, it was pretty fitting that the two goal scorers were both playing in Germany. I think the manager, I was in the press conference afterwards. The manager made a point of saying that actually the Japanese players had really benefited from playing in German football, and it's helped bring their level up, which I'm sure was exactly what the Germany fans wanted to hear at that moment. But yeah, it was they were, the players that came on were very lively, and like I say, I do really think that was the game plan, really, to hold the game for 70 minutes and then really go for it. And once they went for it, I think maybe Germany weren't quite expecting that, and they certainly couldn't handle it. Yeah,
I mean, one player who doesn't play in the Bundesliga, but we've seen bright spells from in the Premier League at Brighton, is Matoma. Mark, it's an interesting story with him, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was when I first saw Matoma, I assumed he was 21, 22 years old, come over from Japan. Obviously, Celtic have got a lot of Japanese players as well, so a lot of British fans have obviously seen what talent there is in the Japanese league. But he actually decided at the age of 18 that he wasn't ready for professional football and went to university. And he studied at university, played for his university team, and he's only been playing professionally now for 1 or 2 years. He's 25 years old, and yeah, he's fantastic. And he was one of the players who, as we're saying, he changed the game yesterday. He's 2-footed. He's very, very decisive on the ball. And actually, I think a lot of people have the extent of our Japanese coverage in the build-up to this World Cup has been how nice those shirts are, but they could actually do something at this tournament here. They could get to the quarterfinals, really.
Connor, yeah, we do. That's right. There was two of the nicest kits at the tournament. We ranked them 1 and 3. I'll put a link to that story in the comments there. We've ranked every single kit at the tournament. Connor, is the Japanese kit the nicest at the tournament, and how far can they go?
It's definitely my personal favourite, and I think my rankings swayed the final decisions on our rankings on the website as well to put it top. I think it's a gorgeous shirt. The Japanese regularly have fantastic kits. I think in almost every tournament they're up and around there for about 20 years now. And I think it's interesting what Mark says about the possibility of them making the quarterfinals, because I mean, obviously, if there's one thing we've learned this week is that we can't start working out exactly who's going to finish where in these group stages. But if they finish second and Belgium finish top of their group, they'll meet in the second round. And Belgium obviously won yesterday, but if you're Japan, I think you'd be watching that game going, oh, we could take them.
Well, they won a bit of revenge from 2018 as well, yeah. 2018 game when they were 2-0 up and lost 3-2, so yeah.
And they looked so exciting in that tournament as well. And I thought they were really unfortunate to go out right at the death against Belgium. So maybe they've learned from that experience and they can go on better. Chris, obviously you're in the stadium. You didn't have the benefit of the ITV commentary, which was Sam Matterface and Ali McCoist. And Ali McCoist in particular was getting very excited when Japan took the lead. And at one point, I think he got a tap on the shoulder live on air and invited to calm down. I don't know if you could see that. I'm sure the press box is vast in that stadium. But again, what was the sort of reaction in the media section? Apparently, the German broadcasters were up in arms with the way that second half played out.
Yeah, well, I can certainly believe it. I mean, I was actually in the kind of the overspill area just to the left-hand side, and we're actually quite, there's a lot of Japanese fans around right in front of us and to our left and stuff. So it was basically just a lot of Japanese fans jumping around where I was. It was pretty lively stuff, yeah.
Did you see them all tidying up afterwards?
Yeah. There were quite a few who stayed behind for 20, 30 minutes. It was quite noticeable, yeah. It's a good thing for them to do.
Good on them, yeah.
Did you notice, Chris? Obviously, we should talk about this. I've got a picture here of the German team photo before kickoff. They took their team photo and coordinated putting their hands over their mouth to represent being silenced. Was that picked up, and was there much discussion after the game about that moment?
Yeah, I was in the press conference afterwards, and I think actually may well have been the first question that was asked to Hansi Flick even before he got to what just happened in the match. Basically, what was the story with the gesture before the game, and he was basically he had one sentence that I think he wanted to deliver very carefully without going too much, but he was basically saying that was our message to FIFA. That we won't be silenced. I don't think he wanted to say any more than that, but I think in that sentence he said all he needed to say, really.
Okay, interesting moment. We'll see how that one plays out. Let's move it on then. Spain were also in action yesterday. Mark, I'll come to you. They looked very, very Spanish and impressive, is how I would describe them.
Yeah, they did, and I think given that a lot of people sort of wondered where the goals were going to come from, given that they scored 7, and Marco Asensio up front, I didn't know he had it in him to be that kind of striker for them, but they were absolutely rampant, and that midfield as well. I mean, obviously it's very difficult to play a 3-man midfield at an international tournament with any kind of cohesion, because you're bringing in different players from different clubs who don't play with each other, but all 3 of Busquets, Gavi and Pedri all play for Barcelona together. They just looked like they were picking up from a training session. It was absolutely unbelievable. It really was.
Connor, do you think Spain can win a World Cup without starting a recognised striker? I suppose they've done it before, or they've got they have got a striker on the bench, but have they found one in Marco Asensio?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course they've done it before, and they've proven that. So if there's a question about it, the one team you'd expect to be able to do it is them. And actually, I think what Mark's saying there about we weren't sure where the goals would come from. Not only did they score 7 yesterday, I think it was 7 different players who got on the score sheet. So it shows that they're only playing Costa Rica, and there'll be tougher tests to come. But the breadth of attacking options that they clearly have on the pitch of finishers that are starting for them is really broad, and I think they're definitely up there. Obviously, we'll have Brazil later on today. Portugal are always in the mixture as well, but I think they've really made a mark in this first week.
Definitely, yeah. And Chris, one player I was personally looking forward to seeing was Gavi. He became the youngest World Cup goal scorer since Pelé in 1958. Pelé was aged 17 years, 249 days. Gavi, 18 years and 110 days. He's already in double figures for international caps. Could he be one of the standout players of the tournament, do you think?
Could well be. I mean, not only is he so young, he also looks about 11. So that's but yeah, he's a very, very impressive player for Barcelona. The way Spain play, he'll have a lot of the ball. I definitely want to watch out for as far as this tournament goes along. I still wonder whether when it comes to sharp end of the tournament, maybe they could be a little bit short of 1 or 2 other teams, but I could be wrong on that. I mean, he did well at the Euros, so who knows? The
Germany-Spain game is massive now. Having watched Germany yesterday, they're still Germany, aren't they? Could they do it against Spain?
They can. I mean, I think there's probably not a huge difference between the teams in quality, but obviously now you've got one team that's massively full of confidence and one team that isn't. So how turning around that momentum, they couldn't do it 4 years ago. So I guess it was a case of can they somehow do it this time? It may be tough for them.
Indeed, yeah. It's, Belgium were also in action. Mark, were they as bad as everyone was saying they were yesterday? It was a bit of a squeaky one against Canada, 1-0 win.
Yeah, I mean, it's not often that you can win your first game at a tournament with a clean sheet against a team like Canada, and everybody says that you're dreadful. But they looked particularly old, I feel is the word. I mean, personally, I was surprised to see the likes of Alderweireld and Vertonghen still in the setup. You wonder that if, when are they going to get moved on exactly. Batshuayi up front as well. And they didn't look, I think it was Alex Scott who said on BBC that they just weren't in sync with De Bruyne. And I think that's it. They just weren't in sync, the Belgian side. They just couldn't get their rhythm at all. And Canada played really admirably against them, that they could have sat off. They, Vertonghen and Alderweireld maybe getting on, but they're great passes, and to press them with that intensity, players of that quality can pass through you, but they didn't in that first half. Canada really unlucky not to be 1 or 2 goals up at half time. I think a lot of teams will be looking now at Belgium. We mentioned Japan. A lot of teams will be looking at Belgium and thinking, if we get them in the next round, might fancy our chances.
Yeah, Connor, coming to you. Canada absolutely battered Belgium in the first half. They had 14 shots to Belgium's 4, but it came down to this moment, didn't it? The penalty, Alphonso Davies versus Courtois, 2 great players, and Courtois did the business, didn't he? Yeah,
and I think actually that is going to be a defining thing within this group, because the other 2 teams in the group are Morocco and Croatia. I watched a fairly drab 0-0 draw between them yesterday morning. Both of them look like sides who struggle to score. Morocco always have that issue going back years now, and Croatia really look like they're missing a Mandzukic figure up front. You'd imagine that someone at the Croatian FA had been on the phone to him earlier this year going, please come out of retirement for this. So, with that kind of defence, with Courtois in goal, you'd expect that Belgium, even a Belgium side that aren't playing particularly well, might get 3 clean sheets in the group stage. And so that would mean that it's definitely wide open for any of the 3 sides to make a mark against each other and get that second place spot.
Chris, it's a controversial topic for 442 to discuss, but is Courtois the best goalkeeper in the world?
I think you've got to say probably is at the moment. Yeah, I mean, he was sensational. I mean, basically Belgium were wholly reliant on both him and De Bruyne. Those 2 are still at a top level. The other 9 probably weren't really. So I think it was very telling that Canada found it so easy to get to Belgium's penalty area. Maybe what they didn't do is create enough clear-cut chances once they got there. But yeah, Courtois saved Belgium a couple of times, and yeah, he's been fantastic for a few months now. He's very impressive again.
Does anyone want to add any context to that, or shall we just move on to another topic?
Should we let Real Madrid fans in the comments?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I tell you what's nice is a great story. Canada being there, I think they've sort of qualified for a tournament one cycle earlier than they thought they would. Obviously, they're going to be playing in the next tournament. They're co-hosting with USA and Mexico. They've still never won a World Cup game, never drawn a World Cup game, never scored at a World Cup. And their manager as well, shout out to John Herdman, born in County Durham, and he's the first manager to successfully lead both the women's team and the men's team at a World Cup. It's a nice story, Mark, isn't it? And he's a very passionate guy, and he said that he told his team to go and F Croatia in the next game. So he's passionate, and he fancies their chances.
Yeah, he said that on live on BBC as well, which I quite enjoyed. And yeah, he set them up in such a way where it almost felt like they couldn't lose really, because nothing was expected of them against Belgium, and yet they come away from that feeling disappointed. They will really fancy their chances, I think, in the next 2 games, because, like we said, Morocco and Croatia aren't exactly pulling up any trees either, and you would expect the rate that Canada are going, creating chances, they're going to have to put 1 in the back of the net, surely, the next 120 minutes. Well, 200 minutes if you add on all the added time. They were just excellent. They were really, really good. They just didn't have that final, finishing touch.
Yeah, that's true. But hopefully they can get something out of the next game and make that group interesting. It's an interesting one. This morning's game, we're all obviously working so hard that we haven't been paying masses of attention to it. Connor, I know you said you hadn't been able to watch it very closely, so I'm going to ask you about it directly. Cameroon v Switzerland. I'm gutted for Cameroon. I've got the Roger Miller shirt on. From
Are you going to do the dance for us, Cat?
Italian 90. Well, the dance is printed on the back. Can you see that?
Incredible.
So the dance is on the back, but I'm not going to do it. But But yeah, anything of interest from that game, Connor? Cameroon v Switzerland. Cameroon looked good, and then they got sucker punched by the Swiss, and then they just finished the game off, and that was that.
I think you meant to throw that one to you, Mark. I missed most of the game, despite the fact I'm wearing a Swiss football shirt. I just thought I would acknowledge the result by wearing it.
There was quite an interesting.
I want you to talk about it, Connor, please. No, come on, Mark. Tell us anything.
Bolo scored,
yeah,
and put his hands up, and I thought, did he used to play for Cameroon? He was born in Cameroon.
Really?
So refused to celebrate, and I have to say that's the first time I've ever seen that in an international game. We see it in club football a fair amount. So,
yeah, it's an interesting one. We put a story up on 442.com very shortly afterwards, and he's almost sort of half celebrating in the picture. He's forcing himself to celebrate.
Yeah,
that's got to be one of the first instances of that happening.
I'd like to see a few more of those actually. Maybe Mbermo, obviously in the Cameroon team, he's born in France. We've got Raheem Sterling was born in Jamaica. Maybe if England can play Jamaica at some point, then Sterling can not celebrate if he scores, and Antonio can not celebrate if he scores, and you can get that synergy going.
Yeah. Jamal Musiala once played for England. Do you think he would avoid celebrating if he scored against
he
the Three
definitely
Lions?
Would celebrate. He's German. He'd love it. He'd be a hero if he celebrated against England.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't the most exciting game of today. Chris, you're off to Uruguay, Korea. That's at 1 p.m. on BBC GMT. What are you expecting to see? What are you looking forward to watching in that game?
I'm interested to see Suarez and Nunez up front for Uruguay. Obviously, Son is back from injury and playing for South Korea. I'm also interested to see the South Korea back line, which is a back four, all of players all called Kim, plus a goalkeeper also called Kim, which could get a bit confusing for the commentators, but interesting to see how it goes. I think it could be a fairly even game. I think South Korea aren't a bad team by any degree. Uruguay will probably be slight favourites, but I think a draw could be possible. So yeah, I think it'll be. I'm particularly interested to see Nunez. I've not seen him yet since he joined Liverpool, so I'm interested to see him.
And remind us what stadium that's at.
So this is at the Education City Stadium. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how's things in Qatar? Anything interesting happening out on the streets away from the stadiums that we should be made aware of?
Well, I had a fun night at the Porter Cabin village last night. I moved accommodation last night and got there arrived at 2 a.m. because obviously the Belgium match didn't finish until midnight, and then they didn't have any rooms for anyone until 3:30 a.m. So it was 100 people getting quite angry. So it was a bit of an experience.
Oh dear, no room at the Porter Cabin.
Anyway, finally we got in, so it was okay in the end.
Chris, sorry, quickly, do you have an idea of how easy it is for fans to watch games that they don't have tickets to while they're over there? There was a lot of reports beforehand that the broadcast subscriptions were too expensive for a lot of restaurants and cafes to have, so a lot of places wouldn't just be showing them. So, do you have to go to a fan zone, or if you're out in the city, is it?
I know there are fan zones. There is a big fan festival area which I haven't had a chance to go to yet, but there's a massive screen there. I think there's somewhere else in the city as well. Because I've been doing 2 games a day, I've not really had a chance to go too much around the city, but I believe there are places if people want to go and watch it, they can find it. Yeah.
And the alcohol situation, Chris, is that being? I assume that's obviously being enforced. Have fans been enjoying a beer at certain stages of the day, or has it been difficult to get a pint? Because I've not been able to see in the city centre itself. I've not been able to see. I'm sure that they're able to enjoy themselves one way. There certainly seems to be a lot of people in this city enjoying themselves. I know that much. How many of them had a beer beforehand? Difficult to tell. But yeah. Well, as long as everyone's enjoying themselves. Which fans are dominating? Who have you seen the most of?
Yeah, loads and loads and loads of Mexicans here. Even at the France-Australia game, when Mexico were playing like an hour beforehand, so they must have missed their own game to go to the France-Australia game. There's still loads of them collecting sombreros and stuff in the left luggage and all sorts. Yeah, there must be at least 50,000 in here. I don't know. It seems an incredible amount.
I saw a couple yesterday in the Belgium-Canada crowd.
Yeah, every match there are almost as many Mexicans as there are for the sets of their own support.
Across the state.
Just what's it going to be like at the next World Cup in Mexico?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's two really good games coming up this afternoon: Portugal and Ghana at 4 p.m. on ITV. Mark, there's a free transfer player playing in that game that people might have their eyes on. Are you excited to see the team sheet for that game, Portugal v Ghana?
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of this Ronaldo guy who's apparently he's not got a club or anything. No idea who he is. So no idea how he got called up. But
he's the Hal Robson Kanu of the 2022 World Cup.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see that Cristiano Ronaldo has got this ability to seem to just turn it on whenever he feels like it, and I don't think he's ever wanted to score a goal more than he has this afternoon. Finals excluding, so that should be fun to see. Full throttle Ronaldo looking absolutely cheesed off with his former employers.
Connor, is Ronaldo more of a help or more of a hindrance than a help to Portugal at this tournament, do you think?
I think the situation in the Portugal setup is probably very different to the one in the United setup. I think they probably still see him as very much of an asset for them. I think in a competition like this one, where actually it is those really small moments that can really change your entire tournament, rather than being stretched out over months and months of a season, that actually probably going to help them, that he's not been getting lots of game time, that he might still have a bit in the legs to be able to play every game during this tournament. And yeah, I think on balance, he probably is. And the fact that he's obviously put himself in the shop window a little bit means that he will have a big point to prove. So I think the Portuguese team are very used to him. They know how to handle him and they know how to play with him. And I think actually that'll be a big boost for them.
Probably quite grateful for him taking some of the heat off of them as well.
Chris, Ronaldo at major tournaments is a bit of a mixed bag. What are your predictions for him for the next 4 weeks and for when he returns to some form of domestic football after the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I'd fancy him to score at least a couple of goals in this tournament. Obviously, at the Euros, he still found the net. I mean, it'd be interesting now where he does turn up next, I guess, won't it? Whether the Chelsea were linked or whether he will go further afield. I guess a lot of clubs will be extremely wary now that by signing him, Juventus found out by signing him he made their team worse. Manchester United found out that by signing him he made their team worse. Who's going to take that risk for a player that you're going to have to pay an awful lot of money and wages to as well? It'd be a brave manager that takes him on now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a very interesting story, and there's a great feature in our current issues, Stars of the World Cup issues, about Ronaldo and Messi, The Last Dance. It's a great read, and it just puts both of their stories into context going into this World Cup. Messi's had a bad start. Let's see what Ronaldo can do this afternoon. Probably the big game of the day is Brazil-Serbia. That's at 7 p.m. UK time, and it's on BBC. Chris, are you going to be at that one?
Yeah, looking forward to it, yeah.
First look at Brazil, who, without playing, have sort of become overwhelming favourites for the tournament. They do have a pretty tasty team. What are you expecting to see?
Well, I think this will be an interesting one tonight because Serbia are by no means a bad team themselves. So if they weren't on top form, they could get caught out. But at the same time, you look at Brazil's forward line. Not only there are 3 or 4 that are going to start, but also there's about 6 on the bench that can just come on and make an impact, and it's quite frightening. So I can definitely see why Brazil are favourites for this tournament. Particularly, obviously now Argentina have lost that and beaten them as well. It'd be very interesting to see how 3 or 4 forward players interact with each other. If they can get that combination right and get that flowing, then that could be pretty unstoppable.
Connor, this is the World Cup of upsets. Could we see the third big upset today? Could Serbia do anything, throw this group of death wide open?
Yeah, that's certainly what I'm excited to see. I mean, it'd be great to see teams look at what Saudi Arabia, look at what Japan have done, and see what has worked for them and see how to replicate that. I mean, how fantastic would it be to see Serbia play with that high line that Saudi Arabia did against Argentina, about relying on the VAR and playing the offside trap, and that will make it a really open game. And clearly, it worked for the Saudis. I'd love to see Serbia give that a go against Brazil and see how it works for them, because one way or another, I'm pretty sure that you're guaranteed goals.
Yeah, I mean, seeing the big teams falter just makes you even more excited about England's prospects as well, doesn't it? Having started so well and having a relatively straightforward group. If Brazil drew or lost today, it would certainly change the narrative. Mark, I saw your cat Rosie briefly wander into shot. She's had another go at predicting a score. Do you want to talk us through this?
Serbia over Brazil. I'm not sure, but she reckons she's pretty confident that Dusan Vlahovic can find some room behind the Brazil defence. So,
well, I'm all of a sudden feeling very confident for Serbia because my pet Howie the hedgehog. Sorry, I'm about to show you some footage of Howie the hedgehog having his prediction. This is him in his vivarium last night. Brazil, Serbia, or draw. See we go. He's in his vivarium. We've got Serbia, draw. He was straight over to Serbia there. There was no hesitation, and we've got both our pets predicting that Serbia are going to win this one. Note the beer mats, the production value I thought was a lot higher on my video than your video, Mark.
Yeah,
the beer mats. We've been sent some beer mats from at Boot and Ball. So they've sent us 34 beer mats. Here's Mexico. So these are pretty cool. So that's what Howie's going to be using to make his predictions. I'm a bit disappointed he's predicted the same as your cat. So that means he can't, he can't win one back. So Mystic Hog versus Mystic Mog. Let's see how they get on.
He's not got one right so far. So
yeah, and I don't fancy either of their predictions tonight. We'll leave it there, chaps. Good to chat. Chris, I know you've got to get off, so we'll round it up there. Just to say as well, 442 magazine Stars of the World Cup issue is in the shops. It's got a giant wall chart. It's got 4 iconic World Cup prints. There's the cover there. Bobby Moore, Pele. Incredible Baggio shot, an aerial of him missing his penalty at USN 84 and Maradona. And the mag content, some great features there. The Messi and Ronaldo features, a must-read. Big Neymar and Mbappe features. An interview with Brennan Johnson. A great Nike Cage feature. Chris has been speaking to Micah Richards. Some amazing quotes in there about England and Man City and his career in general. Fabio Grosso, who famously scored the winner in the 2006 World Cup in Germany. Some Joshua Kimmich exclusive quotes, which will make for interesting reading given the context of yesterday. And we look at the mysterious winning World Cup curse. Connor, the website as well, lots of new content going on there. Do you want to give us a flavour of some of the things we've been uploading this week and that we have planned for the rest of the week?
Well, I mean, everything in as it comes. One of my favourite things actually over the past couple of days was Roy Keane's reaction to the Germany hands over the mouth team photo yesterday. They could have done more, says Roy Keane. So I look forward to Keane coming back to the UK as a commentator on progressive politics across the board. I see him on Sunday morning chat shows saying, the Labour Party really could be doing more at the moment. And I think picking up on things like that is some of my favourite stuff that we've been doing over the past few days.
Yeah. Love Kino. He's definitely one to watch. So thanks everyone for watching World Cup in Motion. Keep your eyes peeled for more of these during the tournament. We're going to try and go live at lunchtime on most days during the World Cup on our Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. Don't forget to visit the website 442.com. We've got our hourly World Cup stories on there, daily quizzes, all the breaking news, loads more too. And follow us on social media. We're at 442 on Twitter and Facebook, and at 442 UK on Instagram, posting some of Chris's pictures and videos from Qatar on there. And like I said, Stars of the World Cup issue, it's available in shops now. Giant A1 wall chart. It's the second of our World Cup themed issues from 442 magazine, so don't miss it. Thanks very much for joining us, chaps, and enjoy the remaining 3 games of the day.